Good afternoon. I'm Kelly Wellman, and I'm the director for the Office of Sustainability here at Texas A&M. Appreciate you joining us for our virtual Earth Month activities. And this afternoon we have with us Kristianna Bowles, who is going to be talking to us about small changes, a Trex recycling plastic challenge that she basically brought to campus here. Before I turn it over to Kristianna, let me go ahead and read you her bio. And naturally now my computer wants to do some updates and installs. Sorry about that. All right, Kristianna Bowles is originally from Rocky Mount, Virginia. She obtained her bachelor's degree in biology with a concentration in ecology and environmental biology from James Madison University in 2017. In 2019, she received a master's degree in recreation, park, and tourism sciences with an emphasis in youth development at Texas A&M University, where she is also currently pursuing her doctorate in educational administration. Ms. Bowles is the Graduate Assistant Sustainability Coordinator for Residence Life and works to increase student engagement in campus sustainability initiatives. Her dissertation research focuses on environmental attitudes, engagement in pro-environmental behaviors, and perceived barriers among on-campus residents. With that, I would like to turn it over to Kristianna. Oh, I'm sorry, Kristianna, one more thing to our folks who have joined us. We do have the closed captioning on so that it's more accessible. If that is a distraction for you, you can always turn that off down in your lower bar. And then we will be doing Q&A with Kristianna afterwards. So if you think of questions throughout the program, you can simply send those through chat and I will facilitate that. So, Kristianna, I'm going to turn that over to you now.
All right. Let me get in the habit of sharing my screen. Beautiful. All right, well, thank you all so much for tuning in. Like Kelly said, my name is Kristianna Bowles. I'm the Graduate Assistant Sustainability Coordinator for the Department of Residence Life here at Texas A&M. And today I am really happy to share with you all one of the projects we've enacted in the last 2 years called the Trex Plastic Film Challenge, and really show you how these small little initiatives can really snowball into something bigger. So just a brief overview of what I'm going to be talking about today. So we're going to go over a little bit of the background, so where this challenge idea came from, how it got started, a brief overview of the process, because it can kind of become a little much when I'm talking about implementing this and then moving on to this. There's a beautiful flow chart that Trex gave me that really illustrates the process nicely. A couple project goals we had going into this, and then just some general implementation features, moving on into a more stringent timeline on a month-by-month basis on what we did during these 6 months. Some financing, very, very important lessons learned, especially through that first year of enacting Trex. Some of our results to date, and then how this has snowballed, and finally we'll end with some of my contact information as well as the Q&A. So first off, for those of you that do know about Lions Club International, it's the world's largest service organization. They do a variety of projects all across the globe. Both myself and my supervisor, Dr. Carol Benzer, are both members of Lions Club. I'm actually the president of the Aggieland Lions Club chapter on campus. And since we are Lions Club members, we receive a copy of Lion magazine. And Carol had actually shown this to me. She popped over to my desk one morning and said, "Have you gotten your magazine yet?" And I hadn't. And she pulled out actually this article. It's just a simple one-page article from Lion magazine, their July-August issue in 2018. And it outlined how this woman had actually contacted Trex and decided to recycle plastic film in her community to beautify their local parks. So what is Trex? Trex is actually a company based in my home state of Virginia. They're actually located in Winchester, Virginia, about an hour north of my alma mater, JMU. And what they do is they make outdoor decking and furniture made of composite material. 95% of it is recycled wood or plastic film. And because they use so much plastic film in all of their resources, they actually host recycling programs with K through 12 schools, communities in general, like this Lions Club had done, as well as secondary schools like colleges and universities. So what it is we have a 6-month time frame. And in that 6 months, your goal is to collect at least 500 pounds of plastic film. And if you reach that 500-pound goal, you actually get a free bench from Trex made from that plastic film. And sorts of things. They have a lovely long list, so you can be really specific with education. But things like grocery bags, Ziploc bags, newspaper sleeves, air packaging pillows if you get things delivered from Amazon, any kind of malleable plastic. So pretty much anything you can think of, and trust me, you find a lot of it when you're on the lookout for it. So this is the brief overview of the process I mentioned. So this flowchart is a godsend. So first, you have the recycling bin at the school. These gets collected at the school or community or whatever, and is then transported to a grocery store here. Trex actually has tons of national partners that they work with and have deals with to collect all of their plastic film that comes in from their inventory getting delivered to the store. Actually, over here on the right-hand side, you can see their partners within the state of Texas. So Brookshire Brothers, Kohl's, Kroger, Target, some pretty big name brands, and they have different ones if a retailer is more of a regional chain, specific to like the East Coast or the West Coast, and you can find this all on their website as well. So after you take the plastic film to the grocery store, it then gets shipped back to the grocery store's distribution center, and then from there it's bundled into these giant bales, put onto a tractor trailer, and then delivered back to Trex. So a very straightforward process. So obviously the first goal we had was to meet the 500 plastic film and to receive the free bench. We were a little hesitant that we would actually meet this goal. I mean, plastic film is really, really lightweight, right? So how much could you possibly have to recycle to reach 500 pounds? And you'll see pictures later on that it certainly was a lot. And then our second goal was to also raise awareness as to just how much of the materials in our lives come packaged in some form or another with plastic film. I'm sure we've all realized that we have packaging that's packaged in other packaging, and it's just layer upon layer of plastic film. So to really bring awareness to just how much we were using on a daily and yearly basis. So the first step in implementing this project was to obviously contact Trex. And luckily in that Lion magazine article, they did have listed Miss Stephanie Hicks, who works with Trex. So I got a hold of her email and I shot her a quick email asking her if this is something we'd be able to do. Obviously Texas A&M is such a ginormous school with about 65,000 students. So making sure that this is something that they could handle and that we would be able to work and distribute this project all across our campus. One of the great things is they pretty much provide you with everything you need. That includes a letter to send to all of the local retailers to see if you can drop off the plastic at their stores. It gives you these lovely bins right here. They're cardboard bins. I think they get, the technical limit is 5, but because our campus is so huge, they gave us 10 gracious but many all across our campus since it's very spread out. They give you that flow chart I showed you, a list of all of their partners per state, as well as some general promotional material that you can use throughout your social media or email. So once we had contacted Stephanie and kind of got it on board, we had to contact a local retailer. I emailed several different places, Kohl's, Target, and our local Target in Bryan actually got back to me first and said that this is something they could easily do. After all we're doing is bringing the plastic to them, and then they just ship it out with their regular recycling shipment. It really isn't anything extra that they have to do on their part. So Mr. Williams was more than happy to allow us to drop off our plastic at their store, which was really grateful. So once we got that cleared, we decided on the 6-month time frame of November through the end of April. And that covers a couple big things for us. So Texas and America's Recycles Day, which are pretty big events on campus, as well as Earth Month and Earth Day, to kind of cover all of those sustainability related holidays. And then we moved into deciding where and how we were going to place our bins. So even though I work in residence life and this was targeted to on-campus residents, as well as our residence life staff, I really wanted to be able to let any Aggie on campus, faculty, staff, student, to have the chance to drop off their plastic film because it is such a difficult thing to recycle. Even Walmart and Target only typically take the just standard recyclable grocery bags, not the other miscellaneous things like the packaging pillows or anything like that. So they were placed into 5 main common areas all across campus. And 2 of our more high traffic areas, because they're in a cluster of what we call neighborhoods. So really within the center of several of our residence halls, I placed multiple bins. So this picture here on the right is actually two of the bins that are in our commons hall. So it's on the first floor of our commons facility where we have dining, mail and things like that. So a lot of foot traffic, as you can see here, both of these bins are pretty full. And then promotional material. So obviously we were lucky enough to get some material from Trex, but we also created some more involved things, kind of tying in the Aggie themes and traditions that we have here. And we did several different bulk emails to all of campus. That includes all our faculty and staff to let them know that this was happening. Social media, I have spoken at several different student organizations and also had our affiliated student organizations like the Aggie E-Groups promote it through their social media and just word of mouth. The biggest thing that we had to think of was plastic storage and weighing. Because we weren't aware of how quickly this would take off, I was given half a custodial closet that our custodial staff was gracious enough to let me use to collect these initial bags of plastic. We quickly realized that was not going to cut it. So our executive director, Ms. Jarni Riddle, got me a recycling room in one of the back areas of one of our common buildings. And it's a huge room. It's probably like 9 by 20 if I had to take a wild guess. And it was perfect for this, especially now that I can't deliver it to Target as often. And then moving on into the delivery schedule, so Target completely agreed to let us come. Currently, they have 2 different days they send tractor trailers back to their distribution center with all of their recycling, and that is on Thursdays and on Sundays. So because we wanted to be able to utilize student workers, thinking ahead if this did balloon up, which it certainly did, we decided that we would deliver on Thursdays between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. was the window that the store manager gave me. And so I worked with our facilities and operations staff and student workers within Residence Life to set up a delivery schedule. So we started out going bi-weekly, where they would check the recycling room, see if there's any plastic, load it up into the back of one of our trucks, cover it with a tarp so it wouldn't fly off because it is still pretty light, and then take it to Target. And then we've kind of had, as it's grown, to move to almost a weekly basis, depending on the time of year. And then also reporting to Trex. So Stephanie said that as we're doing this challenge, at the end of every month, we have to send her a report. Nothing really fancy, just a quick, hi, Stephanie, this is how much we collected and took to Target for recycling this month. So as you can see here, this is a quick snip of our master spreadsheet. This was actually from the first Trex challenge in November 2018 through April 2019. So here I just have the date, where the bin I got it from was, how much it weighed. Over here I have some running totals, so by the month, and then by bin location, and then as well here as at the end of the month when we dropped it off to Target, so how much we just sent to them for recycling. And this was because at the very end of this challenge, we had decided that whichever neighborhood of campus that recycled the most would actually get the bench placed on their area of campus. That way they could enjoy all their hard work from recycling. So down to a more like month-by-month basis of what we did. So starting in September, saw the Lion magazine article, went through contacting Stephanie and getting everything set up, obtained the promotional materials. This is one of the PDFs she sent me, so it just gives you an outline of how the challenge works, the different kinds of plastic film that can be recycled. What does Trex provide? Okay, so here it says 2 recycling bins, posters, and then the free bench if you meet the 500-pound goal. So we got all of that. We told her that it would run from November to April to highlight all of those sustainability days that I mentioned earlier. Went through the process of contacting Mr. Williams, the Target store manager, and getting confirmation that they would be able to take the film at their store and setting up that delivery schedule. Moving on into October, just finalized that coordination with Target to develop a consistent schedule to take the plastic. That way they wouldn't be surprised. I even had our student workers try and do it between 10 and 12 because there had been a time early on in this process where we had delivered the plastic a little closer to that 2 p.m. time, and the tractor trailer had unfortunately already left to go back to the distribution center. So to kind of limit the amount of our recycling that they'd have to store in their back room, we've kind of shifted towards the earlier end of that time frame. Went through a brainstorming session of where should we place these bins, where are they going to be most effective. Even one of our bins isn't in a residential neighborhood, it's actually in our general services complex, which houses a ton of resources for students and therefore a lot of staff, and that's probably our most consistent bin that fills up, you know, because they all bring plastic from their homes and dump it in this one bin. I should actually get a second one there because it is so much. Creating limited signage on the bins. So one thing I wanted to point out going back is right here you see this top one says no plastic bottles or any kind of plastic containers. And then this one on the bottom just outlines the different kinds of plastic. It also has my contact information as well as a colleague over in our custodial services who has agreed to graciously help me run this project. Just to remind people that this is only plastic bags and film and nothing else. Kind of around that second visual cue going in. And then we also did some more of that preliminary promotional material. So the bulk email, updating our website. So at the very end, you'll see we have a page under our Residence Life website that's dedicated to sustainability, including initiatives like Trex. So it has all the information on there as well. And then in November, we officially launched the Trex Challenge on November 1. So the bins were already up in their predetermined locations and a bulk email was sent out just to tell students and staff, bins are up, get to recycling. And then we kind of jump forward a little bit to the very end of the project. So in April, at the end of the month, that was our official close date for the Trex Challenge. So I sent out a preliminary email at the beginning of the month, just reminding people that the bins were going to go away or at least reduce in size, and that the challenge would officially end. So to really do that last push for recycling. And actually, talking about Snowball later on, 2 of the locations actually did remain up throughout the entire summer and until the second official Trex Challenge happened. And then we got to receive our free bench from Trex because our goal was met, and I'll give you those results towards the end as well. But then using that spreadsheet I showed you all earlier, determining which neighborhood and how much they recycled. And then we had to actually contact the Office of the University Architect just to make sure that whatever bench color we selected fit in with the campus aesthetic. So followed all of those campus guidelines, which was great because once you have that set after the first year, you don't ever have to worry about it again because the color has already been chosen and approved, which is wonderful. And then we had our facilities and operations student workers assemble a bench and place it in the predetermined location based on which neighborhood won the challenge. So I know I jumped from November to April, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't stuff going on in the interim from December to March. So throughout the 6 months, we obviously have to email Stephanie with the updated weights of how much we've recycled. This is actually from one of the first drop-offs we actually did, and this is the recycling room that I was able to get. Obviously, it's taking up an almost 9 by 20 room, so it definitely wasn't going to fit into a small custodial closet. Delivering the plastic to Target as necessary, whether that was bi-weekly or weekly, depending on the time of year. Bulk email reminders and updates to keep the campus excited about just how much they were recycling, and then social media promotion as well. And then also promote it through different tabling events that happen throughout the year, whether that was at Texas Recycles Day or at our Earth Day table, just to keep that knowledge and awareness up throughout the 6 months the challenge was active. So financing, this is actually really, really cheap to do because there aren't any direct costs associated with the Trex Challenge. Like I said, Trex really provides the bins, which would probably be the most expensive thing if you had to buy them and standardize them on your own. There are several indirect costs that you need to think about, time being the biggest one. So obviously there's a lot of time that takes into crafting social media posts, putting together emails, making sure that they say the right thing and that they're short enough to catch people's attention. That takes a lot of time. Also our student workers, because the time it takes them to go to the recycling room, pick up the plastic, make sure the tarp is tied down very securely so heaven forbid it doesn't fly off the back on the road, taking it to Target, then driving back and maybe even doing 2 loads of deliveries to Target in a single day, depending on how much plastic we have. that time can really add up per week and takes away from other projects that they may need to help out our facilities and operations staff with. And obviously the cost of the gas getting to and from Target, especially if you have to do those multiple trips. So this was definitely a bit of a learning curve, especially that first year. So weighing was the first thing we wanted to address, because obviously we have to report to Stephanie how much we take to Target every single month. And luckily our Chartwells, which is our dining, they have an industrial scale that was bought and gifted to them by our alternative transportation department. And they only really use the scale once a semester during a food waste awareness campaign they do called Project Clean Plate. And they were gracious enough to let me borrow it to weigh these giant bags of plastic. So we did use that. There were some times where they had to take it back, obviously, for Project Clean Plate, which is about 3 full days, which kind of translates to a week when it comes to coordinating, taking the scale back to them, and then coordinating getting it back. So my boss and I brainstormed a couple ideas of ways we could have a bit of a cheaper solution, because the industrial scale, it's only about 4 by 4, but it is certainly heavy and it takes a lot to transport it. We always have to borrow a golf cart to get it to the recycling room or take it back to our dining hall where they use it. So she had the ingenious idea of using just standard luggage scales, because we've never had a bag weigh more than like 40 pounds at a single time. And obviously luggage bags go up to at least 50 most of the time. You can get some that are higher. So we've actually bought several different luggage scales to use in case we have to distribute or give Chartwells back their industrial scale. That way we still have a way that we can keep track of how much plastic we're saving from the landfill. And then, like I said earlier, storage is definitely a must. I probably had like 5 by 5, area in the custodial closet originally if I was being generous with the amount of space I had. And then moving to this recycling room, because I think you guys will be surprised how quickly it takes off if you take this to your campus. We use grocery bags and single-use plastic film all the time, whether it's the cases of water that we buy for emergencies or just going to the grocery store in general, unless you go to Aldi where they make you, take your own reusable bag. So be prepared for bulk, especially if people aren't packing it tightly, because the plastic likes to expand. It can take up a lot of room, so just be aware of that. Third biggest lesson is contamination, especially during that first year. People are so inclined just to, if they see any kind of bin, just put anything in it, really. It really took a while to get them conditioned to where, okay, this bin that looks like this, lime green and white is strictly for plastic film. Nothing else can go in there, which is why I kind of had to include that sign of no plastic water bottles or plastic containers. I'm very grateful to the students who were putting plastic bottles in there, because at least they were attempting to recycle, just the wrong spot. So just to keep that in mind. There were a couple of times where I had to throw away the plastic film that we had collected just because it was so contaminated from food. That is one thing that Trex makes sure that you're aware of, is that the plastic has to be clean, dry, and free of any kind of food residue. Otherwise, they can't use it. So there were many times where I had to sift through and make sure, random chip bags weren't in there, or plastic bottles, or even Coke cans. I had one instance where some packaged chicken from the grocery store had been tossed into one of our bins. I didn't know until I was already elbow deep. So remember to wear gloves if you have to sift through your plastic to make sure it's not contaminated. But the positive thing is, the second challenge this past year, or I guess still technically, because it's still the middle of April, hasn't been as bad with the contamination. There's a joke here on campus that, you do anything twice, it's automatically a tradition here in Aggie Land. So I think it's definitely caught on as a tradition. So there really hasn't been any food waste. I haven't had to toss out any plastic film that's been so contaminated that we couldn't salvage anything, which was really great. And then just the general education, what kinds of plastic film can go in there. Luckily, Trex gives you these handy little images, so you can just see at a glance, obviously grocery bags, cases of water, the plan for your dry cleaning, which is really good because our Corps of Cadets have to get their uniforms dry cleaned, I think at least once a week, if not more frequently. And of course, it then comes back to them wrapped in plastic film. So they have a way to recycle that. And then also the bin locations, making sure students know that, okay, in my neighborhood of campus, the bins are in this place. And we were strategic in placing them near our 24-hour desks / informational desks for most of our locations, because students are already passing by that on a fairly regular basis, whether that's to walk through to go to the dining hall or go to the learning center on campus to use the computer or access tutoring. So they were in pretty high trafficked areas to where students could become easily acclimated to where they were. And I'm happy to report I love the most our results to date. So for the first Trex challenge from November 2018 to April 2019, we recycled 841.2 pounds of plastic film. In the summer interim period, so from the beginning of May through the next challenge start in November 2019, we collected 189 pounds. Obviously that's less, but it's also the summer. Students really aren't on campus anymore unless they're taking summer classes. And then these results to date for the second Trex challenge, we've recycled pretty much 643 pounds of plastic film. That's probably even higher. I haven't been able to get on campus recently to collect the plastic that we have right now. So either way, we've already passed our 500-pound goal, and I've already let Trex know, and they've delivered our bench, and it's ready to be put out on campus. But we're probably going to get close to 700 pounds by the time it's all said and done, even with everything going on. And since this first started in November 2018, we've almost done 1,700 pounds of plastic film. Actually, this number is even higher. This is just the plastic film I've been able to get my hands on and weigh. Recently, I think it was last summer, one of our residence halls got new mattresses put into it. So I think it was like 200 or 300 mattresses that we had swapped out. Obviously, all of those came wrapped in plastic film, and it completely filled my recycling room. I wasn't able to bundle it to where I could physically weigh it. So that's probably even, why it's even closer to 2,000 pounds if I were to take a guess. And then also we're constantly working to try and capture other plastic that's used. Obviously our recycling products that come in, or things that are shipped to offices, sometimes have air packaging pillows or wrapped in plastic if they're on a pallet. So working to kind of create a system to where we can capture and get all the plastic film that we're producing and using on campus. And I found this quote that I really, really liked, which kind of made me and my boss think of the whole snowball analogy. So success is like a snowball. It takes momentum to build, and the more you roll it in the right direction, the bigger it gets. And if I could tell y'all how much this has really taken off. So our snowball, this has definitely grown much more than expected, and it makes my heart so happy just to see all these little things pop up. Carol had sent me this from the Nextdoor website and app that our local Cub Scout packs are actually getting involved with partnering with Trex to recycle plastic film. I've had people from our College of Engineering reach out to me so the College of Engineering can start their own individual Trex challenge in concurrence with ours. And we did get approval from Trex. So since our campus is so big, we can have multiple Trex challenges so long as it's clear, this one is residence life. This is how much residence life recycled versus, say, the College of Engineering. Our environmental sustainability group through the School of Public Health has also reached out to me to start their own. A committee I sit on and listen on for my boss with a housing association, Baldwin Wallace University, one of our peers in Berea, Ohio, has actually started their own Trex Plastic Challenge through their residence life as well. Their director reached out to me and I worked with him to set them up, which is really wonderful. And another thing is that businesses are actually seeking out partnerships with Trex. So one of my students with our Ag Eco Reps, she mentioned this project to her grandfather, and anything his grandkids are involved in, he goes into 1000% to support them. So he was actually bringing me up truckloads of plastic film from San Antonio from all the Aggies down there that he networks with and knows. And that was certainly a lot. But now he told me that he's working with all the businesses that he does business with to actually get them to partner directly with Trex. So any of the plastic film that they use or get delivered with their shipments actually get sent to Trex for recycling. And also kind of tying into Nextdoor, I had a parent reach out to me because their child works for Old Navy, which is currently not one of Trex's national retail partners. But saying my name had been mentioned on Nextdoor because her son noticed how much plastic film Old Navy was using, because all of their material and clothing comes wrapped in it and more of that. And I hooked them up with some contact information, and luckily for them, there's a second Target store right next to Old Navy, so that would be a great business partnership for them to work out. It'd be just as simple as rolling it 300 feet across the parking lot, and it could all get collected and recycled. Our Utilities and Energy Services department has actually even talked about making Texas A&M its own distributor and retailer with Trex, just because the way it works is Trex buys this plastic film from their retail partners. So right now Target is getting paid for the plastic film. I'm not sure how much it is, but still that's something that is in the talks of being done, especially once all of this kind of blows over with COVID-19 and we can start getting back to some semblance of normal. And then obviously, when I sent out that email the first go around talking about how Trex would kind of be ending at the end of April, I had a flood of emails from students, faculty, and staff saying, please don't take all of them. Is there any way we can keep some of them up year round? You know, I've gotten used to being able to have this resource where I can recycle the plastic film that I do use in my day-to-day life. So we have had 2 recycling locations up year round since the start of this. And then the other locations are taken down until the next official challenge commences. So here's my contact information, as well as our website. This is my office phone. I suggest if you have any questions after this to email me. Obviously, I'm not in my office and mine does not direct to my cell phone, or send me an email when somebody tries to call. So please feel free to email me. I love talking about this and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. And then also follow us on Facebook and Instagram, where we post updates on how the challenge is going. I guess I will stop sharing, and then Kelly goes back to you, I guess.
Thank you, Kristianna, and thank you for the presentation. If folks have questions, just send them in the chat and I will relay those and moderate that discussion. And while we're waiting for people to sharpen those questions up, I'll just say that hopefully it was obvious that Kristianna's got a passion for expanding things beyond her small boundaries. Just hearing about all those partnerships and extended relationships outside of just the residence life sphere, not only that, but outside the campus borders is just really amazing. And it's really shouldn't be any surprise to anyone. I'll tell you that last year, Kristianna received the Graduate Student Sustainability Champion Award for Texas A&M. And I think she just demonstrated why she was selected for that particular award. Okay, let's see here. The first question, since campus is closed, can we take our plastic bags directly to Target?
So I believe so. All of our bins, I'm assuming this is an Aggie that's asking this question directly. So all the Trex bins are still up. So you're more than welcome to deliver them on campus at the bins as you normally would. Target, I know at the front of the store, just like Walmart, has a place at the very front. I think it's like right next to the, I call them buggies, but shopping carts. And you can drop off grocery bags there. I'm not sure if they'll allow you to do just any kind of plastic film in general. So probably the safest bet right now would to continue to use the Trex bins as normal, because they are still up, and I might not take them down at this rate, since there are, so few people left on campus right now. I might just leave them up for the students that are still here, at least through the end of May when people have to move out.
Next question, can you speak to the full process of delivering the plastic, what it took to get student workers to be able to deliver any driver authorizations, etc.?
So the beautiful thing about this for me is that our facilities and operations staff are housed within Residence Life. So I talked with their coordinator, so the person who manages their student workers. And since they're already working in facilities and operations, anybody that had like a driver's license already had their driver authorization forms on file per just how they operate. So I just talked with Kristen Bodden and said, Kristen, I have this idea. I have a little Honda Fit that can't even hold one bag of this plastic because the bags are so big. Can we work with your student staff with the trucks to set up just a consistent delivery schedule? That way, this is where my students are going to be at on Thursdays between 10 and 2, just real quickly. So it really didn't take much to get that process put together. We did have to order a tarp to put on the back of the truck bed because it's not an enclosed bed, and then some bungee cords to tie it down. That's probably the biggest concern. You know, plastic is so light. And the first delivery trip where I went, the tarp did fly up. Luckily, nothing flew out. But that was pretty much the process. Super, super simple. I've been extremely lucky that we already have this in place to where I didn't have to worry about getting those driver authorizations or making sure students had access to the truck, because they already knew where the keys were in the F&O office and already had approval and all their paperwork on file, thanks to Kristen.
Kristianna, for staff, can you share where the bins are on campus?
Yes, actually, let me just share my screen here and I'll just take all of y'all to the website to make things easier. So if you go to reslife.tamu.edu, watch, my internet's gonna be slow now that I wanted to show this to someone. So if you just go to our website, go to the Living on Campus tab, and then down here to sustainability, and then you scroll down to Trex and click on this. It'll give you a view of the map. So here we have one in our Gardens Activity Center. Here's one here in the Commons next to the 24-hour desk, near Hullabaloo's 24-hour desk, the General Services Complex lobby, and then the Activity Center, not the Community Center, but the Activity Center of our White Creek apartments. So probably the easiest places for staff to drive up and drop off is Hullabaloo, or the GSC, just because you can park right there. Hullabaloo has those 30-minute spaces out front, which are really convenient. If you have something like in mass, I've had some staff contact me directly and say, you know, I literally have a trunk load of plastic that won't fit in the bin. Can I schedule a time with you to meet you to drop it off somewhere? I'm happy to do that too. Kelly, you're muted.
Yeah, that helpful little note. Thank you. Used Ziplocs are likely contaminated by food residue. Can they be cleaned with reasonable effort?
Yes. Yeah, I am guilty of using Ziploc bags versus anything reusable on occasion. And I just wash those out as best as possible with some soap and water, and then turn it inside out in my dish drying rack and let it dry completely. And then it's usually good to go in the bin.
Okay, so one of the questions is possibly, Kristianna, could you ask for more Trex bins to have in more diverse areas of campus? Or do you think it would be better for individual departments to start their own partnerships with Trex? For instance, the Bush School is far away from all of the current collection sites.
So I would suggest individual offices or even colleges do their own. Right now, me being in an office of one and a half, if you count my boss, since I'm a graduate assistant, I only do 20 hours a week. So with how big our campus is, I don't think the infrastructure is sound enough to where Residence Life could take on just how much plastic this campus could generate and collect. So I suggest, you know, in the case of the Bush School, if y'all are interested in doing your own Trex challenge, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to work with you to set that up. It is really simple. The hardest part was just the education component, really, to get people to not contaminate the bins and to know where they were and what they could put them into. So definitely, if you want to do that, please feel free to email me. I'd love to work with you to get it up on your end of campus, because I do know it's really far, and I will have a class there in the fall. So I will definitely remember how far away it is from everything else.
Thank you, Kristianna. That's all of our questions. I'm trying to share my screen here. Hang on, just kind of as a reminder. We appreciate your time this afternoon, Kristianna. And then, of course, thanks to everyone who joined. I do want to remind you that because this is part of Texas A&M Virtual Earth Month, I hope that you can participate tomorrow at 2 o'clock when we have our next guest. It'll be atmospheric sciences professor, Dr. Andrew Dessler, talking about what's the real cause of climate change. And I'll put in a plug on Wednesday, we'll be having our award ceremony. So if you're interested to see who the 2020 Sustainability Student, Faculty, and Staff Champions are, you can join us Wednesday morning at 11:30. Again, thank you all for participating. I hope that you have a great and wonderful day. Bye.